Hi everybody, this is Miss Overstreet, and today I'm going to do two things. One, I'm going to show you how to get into the Springboard, and two, I'm going to read you um, our first story in Activity 1.2. So when you go to um, the Carlsbad site, you're going to just go to the Carlsbad site. This is what's known as Classlink, and you probably remember seeing this last year when you open up your Chromebook and you logged in. This would be the first tab that you would see. So now this is the tab that you're going to use to get into Springboard. Okay, but to get to this, you go to let me get a tab here. You go to the Carlsbad School website. So that is carlsbadschools.net. You can see that up here. Then you're going to go to menu and then scroll down to where you see students. Click on Classlink, and there you go. So your login for the Classlink is your student ID number, your 9 digits, and your password is the same thing. Now, obviously, this isn't going to work because this is made up, but just showing you how to do it. Okay. Once you get logged in, you're going to see all these little icons or apps on here. So mine might look a little bit different than yours, but basically it's the same thing. You're going to click down here where it says Springboard, and that's where this Clever comes in, because it'll take you to the Clever login, and you'll search for the school name, which is Carlsbad High School. Click on Carlsbad High School, log in with Google. Now, once you've done this once, then you won't have to do this again. Okay, and so now it just shows me, I don't want to get started, I don't want to learn more. So it's just going to show me the Clever link. However, when you do the login to Springboard, so when you do the login to Springboard, it's going to automatically, it should go ahead and just sign you into that Clever and then take you to the Springboard page. So I've already done all this on my other computer, but it doesn't do screen record, so I'm using my personal computer for this. So once you get logged in, it should look something like this. And you're just going to go to view your ebook. Now, because I teach 2 different classes, I have to change it to English 3 or English 2, depending on which one I'm doing it from. So today I'm going to be reading from the English 3 book. So I'm going to go to that page, and then I'm going to start reading here. Now, the reason why I'm doing this reading to you is because the reading that was done in the past for you by the actual speakers is now gone. We're trying to get that back, but until that happens, we are now stuck with kind of doing our own read alouds. So I will try to make it as thoughtful and as not entertaining, but as much as the speaker would have said if you could have heard the speaker say it. or the author. So this is an essay by John McCain, and he was elected to the U.S. Senate in 1986. He's a prisoner of war, or was a prisoner of war until 1973, almost to the end of the Vietnam War. He was seriously injured, and because of his injuries, he had to have his jaw kind of wired shut. So he never really could, you never really saw his jaw move or any movements in speaking. So, and sometimes you could hear that in his speaking. Anybody who's had their jaw wired shut understands that it's really hard to kind of sometimes enunciate words and to say things. One of the reasons why he became so famous was because of his father, who was also famous in his own right. He was a 4-star admiral in the Navy, and he graduated the Naval Academy in 1958. So you can see that John McCain was a prisoner of war from 1967 to 1973. So he was a prisoner of war for 6 years. And that is a long time. There are still prisoners of war veterans who have never made it home. So, and that's been a good 30 years now. So 40 years. So, that this is quite poignant and fitting that this is our first story for the American Dream. This was done Veterans Day, November 10th, 2002, and it appeared in the Milwaukee Journal-Sentinel, which is kind of like our Carlsbad Argus. It's a newspaper. Never forget their duty. Let me tell you what I think about our Pledge of Allegiance, our flag, and our country. I want to tell you about when I was a prisoner of war. I spent 5 years in the Hanoi Hilton. In the early years of our imprisonment, the North Vietnamese kept us in solitary confinement, or 2 or 3 to a cell. In 1971, the North Vietnamese moved us from these conditions of isolation into large rooms with as many as 30 to 40 men to a room. This was, as you can imagine, a wonderful change, and a direct result of the efforts of millions of Americans led by people like Nancy and Ronald Reagan. On behalf of a few hundred POWs, 10,000 miles from home. One of the men moved into my cell was Mike Christian. Mike came from a small town near Selma, Alabama. He didn't wear a pair of shoes until he was 13 years old. At 17, he enlisted in the U.S. Navy. He later earned a commission. He became a naval flying officer and was shot down and captured. Commission, the order that grants an officer rank in the military. Mike had a keen, or the order that grants, Mike had a keen and deep appreciation for the opportunities this country and our military provide for people who want to work and want to succeed. The uniforms we wore in prison consisted of a blue short-sleeved shirt, trousers that looked like pajama trousers, and rubber sandals that were made out of automobile tires. I recommend them highly. One pair lasted my entire stay. As part of the change in treatment, the Vietnamese allowed some prisoners to receive packages from home. In some of these packages were handkerchiefs, scarves, and other items of clothing. Mike got himself a piece of white cloth and a piece of red cloth, and fashioned himself a bamboo needle. Over a period of a couple of months, he sewed the American flag on the inside of his shirt. Every afternoon before we had a bowl of soup, we would hang Mike's shirt on the wall of our cell and say the Pledge of Allegiance. I know that saying the Pledge of Allegiance may not seem the most important or meaningful part of our day now, but I can assure you that for those men in that stark sail, it was indeed the most important and meaningful event of our day. One day, the Vietnamese searched our cell and discovered Mike's shirt with the flag sewn inside and removed it. That evening, they returned, opened the door of the cell, called for Mike Christian to come out, closed the door of the cell, and, for the benefit of us all, beat Mike Christian severely for the next couple of hours. Then they opened the door of the cell and threw him back inside. He was not in good shape. We tried to comfort and take care of him as well as we could. The cell in which we lived had a concrete slab in the middle on which we slept, and 4 naked light bulbs in each corner of the room. After things quieted down, I went to lie down to go to sleep. As I did, I happened to look in the corner of the room. Sitting there, beneath that dim light bulb, with a piece of white cloth and a piece of red cloth, another shirt, and his bamboo needle, was my friend, Mike Christian. Sitting there with his eyes almost shut from his beating, making another American flag. He was not making the flag because it made Mike Christian feel better. He was making that flag because he knew how important it was for us to be able to pledge our allegiance to our flag and country. Duty, honor, country. We must never forget those thousands of Americans who, with their courage, with their sacrifice, and with their lives, made those words live for all of us. Okay, so that is Veterans Day by Never Forget Their Duty by John McCain.